I went into this thinking it was impossible, that it just wouldn't work, and then this happened. Hey, what's going on guys, my name is Pete the Android and today I bring you a very special video. My first emulation test on the Redmi Note 9s, a very nice phone that packs 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage and a Snapdragon 720. For this video I want to make things differently, so for your commodity, if you check the description box, you'll have the timestamps to all 6 of the consoles we'll test, along with the game titles. And as you can see on screen, we'll be displaying 4 games at once so the video can be shorter, and then, on the last console, it's going to be a regular game-by-game test. Throughout the gameplays, I'll be explaining to you exactly what you can expect from a Snapdragon 720, or better yet, from a Redmi Note 9s. You'll see the game title and the resolution scale at which it's running. But anyways, stop the chit-chat and let's begin. It's no secret PPSSPP is one of the most optimized emulators for mobile devices. This becomes very clear when we can run games like Mortal Kombat Unchained at 9x resolution. But, as you'll know, even though they are from the same console, some games might behave a little different and may require more power from your device. I wanted to make this test while doing the list to the configs, just so we could have a base to make comparisons on future videos. I'll be making videos on custom ROMs, kernels and how they impact performance on emulators. But on this video, we'll be sticking to the basics. How would a Redmi Note 9s emulate straight out of the factory? I would say you can play most of the PSP games at around 5x resolution, but heavier games like the God of War series will run between 2x and 3x. Excellent demonstration from the Redmi Note 9s on PPSSPP. Next up is a great console loved by many, the Nintendo GameCube. Using Dolphin MMJR, we get a very enjoyable experience in most of the games. Even 2x and 3x resolutions are no problem for the 720, especially in games like Smash Bros. And Prince of Persia. Talking about the heavier games, I would say one of them is Super Mario Sunshine. For some reason, even at 1x resolution, it's extremely hard to run. And if you think that's hard to see, don't even look at the F-Zero GX gameplay, looking like a PowerPoint presentation out here. But F-Zero GX would give even high-end smartphones a run for its money. Bear in mind that performance on many of these games can improve using better configs, but that's beyond the scope of this video. Generally speaking, GameCube is a playable console on a Snapdragon 720, which showed a respectable display of its power. We shall continue on the console ladder with no more and no less than the GameCube's successor, the Nintendo Wii. Now this console would evidently be harder to emulate, but there is not a significant difference on power requirements between both consoles. In fact, many games like Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 run great at 1.x resolution, that's between native and HD. We also got games like Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which run at 2x, but on the other side, games like Mario Galaxy 1 will be practically impossible to run. Even at 1x, Mario Galaxy just does not display those usual 60 FPS. Sadly, the Redmi Note 9s Snapdragon 720 just isn't enough for this game. Nevertheless, most Nintendo Wii games will be very playable even at a higher resolution, and with MMJR's next updates, the situation will only get better. One of the newest consoles we can emulate on Android right now will be the Nintendo 3DS. Here I was actually very surprised. The Snapdragon 720 can run games like Pokemon Alpha Sapphire at 3x resolution, even during battles. This reinforces our point, even on the same console there will be games that require more resources. For example, most of the 3DS games were only playable at 1 or 2x, and some weren't even able to run okay on 1x resolution. Something very curious you'll find on many gameplays are lag spikes, commonly known as slowdowns. Contrary to popular belief, this is not due to the device not being able to emulate the console. As you can see, many of the lag spikes occur when a new effect is displayed on screen. This is actually the cache being generated by the emulator, and as such, when the same effect is displayed afterwards, the lag spike disappears. I can understand this is very bothersome, but once you have generated enough cache, you shouldn't have any more problems. For the 3DS, I'd say the Snapdragon 720 is the recommended processor, since it would let you run most of the games. Yeah, you might be able to run some games with a Snapdragon 660 or even a 636, but if you are someone with little experience modifying and configuring emulators, the extra power will let you have a better experience without tinkering so much. An amazing performance coming from a device that cost less than $200. Now here is where things turn sour. I have a bit of history with them on PS2. On my Spanish channel I made a documentary on its shadiness, and I even tried its free version. If you'd like, I could translate those videos for you. You can imagine my experience wasn't great, but many people say the performance improved with the paid version. Me, not wanting to eat more than 10 ads to play each of the 8 games, I did the unthinkable. I bought them on PS2 Pro. I think not having ads shoved down my throat every 5 seconds made the experience better. The disappointment came from the poor performance even on a processor that many of us would consider very capable. I wasn't able to enjoy any game at a stable FPS. The closest one was Crash to Insanity, in which, even though the FPS counter said differently, while playing, it was very evident that the game was not running at 60 FPS. The graphical glitches were just too much, and out of a weird audio glitch where sound was not in sync with the cinematics, it was actually around 5 seconds behind. Sadly for us, the Snapdragon 720 is not enough, not even with the paid version. I stay firm on my recommendation: do not pay or download this app. After the disappointment from them on PS2, my expectations were very low. Also, just so you know, the minimum required SoC for XNES, the Switch emulator, is a Snapdragon 855. But having the Game Series X2, it didn't cost me anything more than time to test out emulating the Nintendo Switch on a mid-range device. As you can see, many of the games only showed the Switch logo, or maybe even played some images and sound, but they never got to the gameplay. In fact, most of the games just froze on a pitch black screen. This is what I expected. I went into this thinking it was impossible, that it just wouldn't work, and then this happened. Even on phones with 10 plus gigs of RAM, XNES can use up to 80% of available memory. With my measly 4 gigs of RAM, of which only around 1 gig was available, it was more than clear that no game should even start. But then, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu came through. In some points, I would even say it ran at a playable speed, reaching 30 FPS in the character selection screen. But every new animation displayed reminded me that this phone was not born for emulating Switch. When Oak launched the first question and I had to answer by typing my name on the keyboard, I knew this forbidden adventure wouldn't last too long. Then, just like the peace before the storm, XNES and my Redmi Note 9S managed to get through this first test. My wish of playing at least 1 minute on the actual game was destroyed by Oak's second question, for which my Redmi Note 9S couldn't offer an answer. In the end, I find it very surprising that we got this far. We pushed this phone to the max and we got to see the amazing performance this phone brings straight out of the factory. Even though it was very fun to run Pokemon Let's Go, if you are an inexperienced user that has never used a custom ROM, I can't recommend you this phone. I say the biggest bottleneck it has is not even the processor, but rather its under-skin, MIUI 12, which makes the phone lag even on its regular use while browsing social media. Maybe in the future I'll get to install a custom ROM and we shall embark on this adventure once again. If you like this video, hit that like button and share it with your friends. But this has been everything for today. My name is Pete the Android and I'll see you on the next one.